Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 41. Cut the weeds and exterminate the roots. Carl naturally heard the panic in Gwen's words. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Carl calmly pulled Gwen behind him. The tall and strong body was like an iron wall, which gave Gwen a different sense of security. Especially when she noticed that Carl looked very calm without any panic, Gwen also became puzzled. Does Carl want to fight 10? How can that be? Throwing the unrealistic thoughts out of her mind, Gwen touched her pocket subconsciously. Gwen, who was about to call the police, realized that she didn't bring her mobile phone when she went out. Facing the approaching gangsters around her, Gwen found that there was nothing she could do except to trust Carl. There was no other good way. The two of them can't run away even if they want to run now. The gangsters around had obviously surrounded them. In such a surrounding situation, ordinary people could fly out unless they put on their wings. The one with the black teeth was the happiest of them all. Since he was severely punished by Carl last time, Black Fang has truthfully reported his situation. After learning that Black Fang was attacked by a mutant, Jin, who ruled the underground underworld in NY, also hired a mutant to come to support him. With his own support, Black Fang returned to this street again. After squatting on this street for several days, Black Fang finally waited for Carl to arrive. Especially when he saw a beautiful high school girl beside Carl, Black Fang became even more excited. This time, Black Fang is very confident. No matter how strong Carl is, he will never be an opponent in front of the mercenaries sent by the boss. Hei Fang works in the underground boxing arena, and the underground boxing arena is the property of Jin Bing, the biggest underworld leader in NY City and the underworld emperor who controls the lifeline of the underground economy. The Manhattan and Queens districts of NY are considered to be areas under the personal jurisdiction of Jin Bing, the underworld emperor. In these areas, King does not allow people who can resist him. Once someone resists him, it means that Jin Bing's prestige will be damaged. Therefore, for those who refuse to pay protection money, it is natural that they need to be taught a lesson and punished. After squatting here for several days, when Black Fang and others were about to give up revenge, Carl finally came. You guys are really not afraid of death. Carl looked at Hei Fang and the others approaching, and the killing intent in his heart was extremely strong. Last time, I was in a good mood just after transmigrating, and these people didn't have any super abilities, so Carl would show kindness and let them go. What I didn't expect was that the other party wanted to take revenge on me, and this time I brought far more people than last time. It is simply the so-called exacerbation. It seems that the best way to deal with these rubbish is to cut the weeds and roots at once. Carl's eyes were full of coldness, that stern expression. Hei Fang and the others couldn't help shivering. At this moment, they recalled the scene of being severely cleaned up by Carl that night. The two members standing next to Hei Fang faltered for a few seconds. After recalling that they also had mutant on their side, they immediately shouted, "Boy, weren't you crazy last time? It is for your own good to ask you to hand over your phone and money obediently, this time you are doomed." Seeing Carl, whose expression didn't change at all, Black Fang and the others couldn't help but glance at each other. They all know that Carl can fight well, and it's normal for the opponent to be confident. But this time, each of them took a weapon, and Carl was unarmed, so what if it was a mutant? Knives kill mutants as well as guns. What's more, they also have mutants to support them. Take him down, Black Fang greeted. Everyone present immediately took out machetes from their coats. Gwen had never seen such a formation before. Especially after seeing these people take out the shining machetes, Gwen was frightened and froze in place. Just when Gwen reacted and wanted to tell Carl to run, Carl's hands had already clenched into fists. Even though there were many gangsters with knives in their hands, Carl took the lead in attacking without any hesitation, stepping forward with his right foot and reaching forward with his right hand. Everyone present could only feel a black shadow flashing in front of their eyes. In a moment, Carl had a gang member by the neck. Before everyone present could react, Carl directly threw the man whose neck was pinched by him. The young man's body was like a bowling ball at this moment, it flew out and swept 4 or 5 companions to the ground. Such an exaggerated scene suddenly changed the expressions of Hei Fang and the others. Even with machetes in their hands, they were terrified by the strength Carl displayed at this moment. With his bare hands, he easily threw out a companion who weighed 170 to 80 caddies, knocking over a group of people. If this kind of force hit him, wouldn't he be killed on the spot? Carl's sudden attack frightened these gangsters with machetes so that they did not dare to act rashly. Carl looked at Gwen and found that she was staring at him blankly. Because of Gwen's presence, it is not easy for Carl to kill Gwen and leave a psychological shadow on Gwen, so Carl plans to send Gwen back first, and he will kill the grass and roots when he comes back. The people who were knocked to the ground just now were the breakthrough opened by Carl. Without giving the gangsters any time to react, Carl took Gwen's arm involuntarily and ran back towards the apartment at an alarming speed. By the time Black Fang and the others came back to their senses, Carl had already run at least 100 meters away. Seeing this scene, Heya was trembling with anger. FK. This damn kid, how can he run so fast? Just as He Fang's voice fell, a figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere in front of them. This figure was a man in a denim outfit, a mutant named Ghost. Ghost's ability is teleportation, because every time he casts teleportation, he will appear like a skeleton, so he has such a title. Where is the target? Ghost looked around. After receiving the message from He Fang and others, he rushed over as quickly as possible. Unexpectedly, it was still a step too late. That kid ran away. He ran very fast, we didn't keep up. Heya gritted his teeth and could only tell the truth. Ghost frowned slightly. He knew from Black Fang's mouth a few days ago that the opponent who made trouble this time was also a mutant. Every mutant has a different ability, so it's not surprising that the guy who is a mutant can escape from Black Fang and others. Gwen gasped slightly, standing downstairs in the apartment, still in a state of shock. It was really too dangerous just now. Carl, I thought you would stop running away. Gwen patted her chest with lingering fear. There are so many of them, it would be unwise not to run away. Carl smiled and explained calmly. Gwen nodded approvingly, and suddenly recalled the moving speed Carl showed when he pulled her to run. Now that the crisis was over, Gwen realized something was wrong after she calmed down. Although Carl didn't run very fast when he pulled himself, but if compared with the running speed of ordinary people, Carl was obviously much faster. Reminiscent of the picture of Carl picking up a person's neck with one hand and throwing it out. All indications are that Carl has shown extraordinary strength and speed. Thinking of this, Gwen seemed to have guessed something. Carl, are you changing? Carl made a soft hissing gesture. Gwen, will you keep it a secret for me? Gwen's complexion changed slightly. Unexpectedly, Mr. Carl was really a mutant. After taking several deep breaths in a row, Gwen hardly showed any hesitation, with a serious expression on her face, and nodded heavily. Definitely will keep it secret, Carl, I don't hate mutant. That's good, let's go, we're going home. Carl couldn't help but patted Gwen's little head. Gwen's serious look is surprisingly cute. In fact, Carl had no intention of hiding his power. It's just that Gwen regarded himself as a mutant. Carl didn't bother to explain. It would take a lot of time to explain, but in Carl's view there is no need for that. It is the best way to let Gwen know that he is Superman. Gwen sat by the bed in her bedroom, recalling the shocking scene of Carl leading her escape from a group of gangsters. Her little heart still couldn't help pounding. Carl turned out to be a mutant, no wonder he feels so confident when surrounded by so many people. Gwen clenched her pink fist lightly. She was smart enough to know how important Carl's secret as a mutant was. The contradiction between mutants and ordinary people in the current world is getting deeper and deeper. Carl can tell this secret to himself. This undoubtedly shows Carl's trust in himself. Is this a secret between me and Mr. Carl? Gwen pursed her lips lightly, thinking of something in her heart. The corners of her lips rose slightly. Carl also returned to his home at this moment. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror, Carl smoothed out the black battle suit on his body. Turning to look out the window. Boom boom boom. After Carl's figure flew out of the window, there was a monstrous sonic boom, and he went straight to where Black Fang and the others were. Chapter 42. Just as Black Fang, Ghost and the others were about to return to the underground boxing arena to report the situation, the sound of continuous explosions in the sky attracted their attention. In this dark and silent night, the sonic boom brought by the Carl supersonic flight woke up countless people who were sleeping or were about to sleep. Countless people don't know what is going on with this sudden loud noise. When they tried to look out the window, Carl's figure had disappeared without a trace. After sending Gwen home, Carl soon came to the previous street. Hei Fang and the others had not had time to leave that street. Seeing this, Carl's face showed a piercing killing intent. Hearing the loud noise from the sky, Hei Fang and the others who were about to leave the scene couldn't help but stop in their tracks. When they saw the figure in the black battle suit floating in the air, a look of fear appeared in the eyes of Hei Fang and the others. Because everyone present recognized who this figure was. Superman. Just seeing Carl for the first time, the backs of Black Fang and the others were sweating densely. Yes, it's him. That's Superman. Isn't that guy still in Gotham City before? Why is he back again? There are so many criminals in Gotham City. If he doesn't solve them, what does it mean to appear in front of us now? Superman's target this time, could it be us? Everyone behind Black Fang was making sounds of fear. It is self-evident what the appearance of Superman means here. At present, Superman has appeared in the public eye twice, but both times are related to criminals. According to Superman's style of acting, everyone here is going to die today. Everyone clearly felt the murderous intent emanating from Carl, especially Mutant Ghost, who had just finished talking with Black Fang and the others. He was the strongest person among all the people present, so he felt the aura exuded by Carl the most deeply. Superman just looked down at them from high in the sky, and Ghost felt that he would die in hell at any moment. Although Ghost is a mutant, it has also experienced some events. Compared with ordinary mutants, Ghost has more combat experience. But it was the things he had experienced that made Ghost clearly know that there is a gap between mutant and mutant. Carl is not only the most high-profile mutant in the world right now. At the same time, the ability he displayed is beyond the imagination of many mutants. In the mutant group, most mutants define Carl at the alpha level. And the alpha level mutant is actually the current top level mutant. But Ghost knows that there is an omega level above the alpha level. There are some rumors among the mutant clan. Rumors say that this Superman might be an omega class mutant. In front of a mutant as powerful as Carl, Ghost knew that he could not be his opponent at all. And now, it's too late to run. Superman's flight speed is faster than his teleportation. Ghost's teleportation is only a short distance away, while Carl's flight speed is several thousand meters per second. At this moment, Ghost regrets being recruited by Jin Bing very much. If he had known that he would face Superman one day, Ghost would not have taken the golden salary. Ghost's body is very fragile. In previous battles, Ghost, relying on his teleportation ability, can show overwhelming combat power when holding a gun. But now looking at Carl floating in midair, Ghost swallowed hard. Even his legs began to shake uncontrollably. Carl, who was floating in midair, slowly landed on the ground, his cold eyes slowly focused on Hei Fang and the others. Superman, wait a minute, we are not your enemy. Although Ghost was terrified in his heart, he mustered up the courage to speak quickly. Ghost was afraid that if he said it later, the heat ray released from Superman's eyes would penetrate his body. We have never offended you, and we have never offended you. I wonder why you found us. Carl's eyes were cold, and he said in a cold voice, it seems that you haven't figured out the situation yet. Didn't we just meet? Just met. Hey-ya and the others were startled, and their heads went into a shutdown state. After racking their brains and thinking for a while, Hei Fang and the others all opened their eyes wide in an instant. A pair of eyes stared at Carl with disbelief. Just now, that guy with glasses just now is Superman. No, that's impossible. How could he be Superman? Black Fang, I'm a fool, you brought us to kill Superman. Why the hell did you bring us? Hei Fang was also stunned when he heard the angry scolding from the crowd behind him. Who would have thought that the kid wearing glasses before would be the most discussed Superman on the internet? Before everyone could react, Carl walked slowly towards Black Fang. The terrifying oppressive force sent chills down Black Fang's spine, and the constant fear of death welling up in his heart drove Black Fang to pull out a pistol from his pocket. Stop. Don't come here anymore, I'm going to shoot. Gun. Carl's face was full of sarcasm, he was not moved at all, and at the same time, he stepped closer. Shet. Black Fang cursed angrily, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang bang bang. Ear-piercing gunshots sounded in the space. Black Fang's face was full of fear, and there was no trace of blood on his face. Black Fang couldn't imagine why this damn mutant's body would be so hard. The bullet hit him, but it only sparked, and the other party didn't even feel it. In the blink of an eye, the clip in Black Fang's hand was emptied. Just then, Carl stepped forward. Boom! Stepping out of the gust of wind, everyone around Heifeng was knocked to the ground in an instant. Holding Black Fang's neck with one hand, Carl squinted at him, as if looking at a lowly bedbug. Heifeng's face flushed red, and a strong sense of suffocation was filling his whole body. He could feel Carl's right hand tightening around his neck slowly. The despair that no one can save him and the fear of death made Black Fang stretch out his hands and pat Carl's right arm weakly. Please, let me go. I've already given you a chance. Hearing Black Fang begging for mercy, Carl was not moved at all. The palm exerted a slight force, and the crisp sound of the neck breaking reached the ears of everyone who was knocked to the ground by the strong wind. Regardless of the pain in their bodies, everyone lying on the ground looked up in Carl's direction. Heifeng, who was still struggling frantically, froze, and Heifeng, who was standing beside them alive before, was easily pinched to death by Superman. With the black teeth still on the ground, Carl's eyes gradually glowed scarlet. Everyone heard a high decibel hum resounding through the air. This high decibel piercing buzzing sound was stimulating their hearts fiercely at this moment. All the gang members who were lying on the ground saw this scene. All of them were ghosts. Run! A young member who reacted the fastest got up in a panic. In an instant, a beam of hot red eyes burst out from Carl's eyes. This young gang member couldn't even scream. His entire body was vaporized on the spot, leaving no residue left. Strange. Monster. Help. Help. Don't kill me, please. Superman, please don't kill me. Everyone was terrified by this horrible scene. They didn't even have the idea of resistance, and they knelt down in front of Carl one by one, prostrate and begged for mercy. And Carl is really kind enough. He didn't let these gangsters taste endless torture and pain. Under the high temperature heat of tens of thousands of degrees Celsius, more than a dozen gang members were all vaporized in an instant. In the blink of an eye, only the mutant named Ghost was left trembling in fear in the cold wind. Chapter 43. Ghost was extremely horrified. When Superman first appeared, there were also robbers present. But Superman just killed a leader at that time, and didn't kill a lot. But tonight, the thunderous tricks Superman showed made Ghost completely terrified. No mercy, kill as soon as you say, without the slightest procrastination. Such a decisive way of killing, even the ghost who has seen death is afraid of it. Seeing that Carl's eyes moved to him, Ghost was terrified, but he knew very well that if the other party left him, he must be of value. Please, Superman, don't kill me. I didn't offend you. I was just entrusted. I never thought of standing against you. You are a mutant, and I am a mutant too. For the sake of everyone being a mutant, let me go. Bang bang bang. Ghost knelt in front of Carl, hit his head on the ground, kowtowed. Even though his forehead was bleeding from the nibbling, Ghost didn't have the slightest intention to stop. Carl stared at Ghost indifferently, and said unhurriedly, "Tell me, who hired you? I don't have to kill you." The culprit is the man named Alves who manages the nearby underground boxing ring. He reported the situation that day to Jin Bing, and then I was hired by Jin Bing. Jin Bin. Carl narrowed his eyes. Carl is no stranger to this man. After all, in the Marvel world, Jin Bin is the #1 enemy of the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and Daredevil. Similarly, Jin Bing is also a supervillain with the strongest force and superior intelligence among ordinary criminals. Yes, it's Jin Bin. Alves is Jin Bin's subordinate. The underground industries in Manhattan and Queens are firmly controlled by Jin Bin. Ghost felt that he had a chance to survive, so he truthfully told all the information he knew without any hesitation. Because the people Superman has killed so far are all vicious criminals, and it is this situation that makes Ghost feel that he still has a chance. Finished? Carl asked coldly. I've told you everything I know. What you said, as long as I tell you the information, you won't kill me. Yes, I did promise not to kill you. Carl's body slowly floated up from the ground. Just when Ghost thought he was lucky enough to survive, Carl watched him condescendingly. Suddenly, a high decibel buzz sounded again in the space. The scorching scarlet hot gaze shot out from Carl's pupils, and even the body of mutant was vaporized by Carl in an instant. I said I wouldn't kill you with my hands. But I never promised not to use my eyes. Carl withdrew his gaze indifferently. Look around. Black Fang's breathless corpse came into Carl's eyes. Slightly pondering, a red light shot out from Carl's eyes, which vaporized Black Fang's corpse. After doing this, Carl made sure that nothing slipped through the net before his body soared into the air. In an instant, it flew to an altitude of 500 meters. Carl overlooked the brightly lit NY city below him, and quickly expanded his hearing and vision. All kinds of subtle movements and hidden secrets in the entire NY city were exposed to Carl at this moment. In just a few seconds, Carl locked the location of the underground boxing ring that Ghost said. Alves, the manager of the underground boxing ring, was on the phone with Jin at the moment. Yes, boss, after Black Fang and the others come back, I will be more. The voice of Alves sitting in the office stopped abruptly. Looking up at the flickering chandelier hanging from the ceiling, Alves frowned. The voltage seems to be unstable tonight. Just when Alves was about to continue reporting on today's situation, the lights in the office suddenly went out. The room suddenly became pitch black. Just when Alves was about to take out his mobile phone to turn on the lights in the office turned on again. Alves, what's going on? Hearing Jin Bin's serious figure from the other end of the phone, Alves was about to respond. The extra figure in the room made Alves' heart beat wildly, and at the same time, his face froze. Seeing clearly the figure in the black battle suit standing in front of him, Alves' complexion changed suddenly. Are you Superman? Carl took a step forward, and in the ear-piercing howl of the wind, he came straight to Alves. Without giving Alves a chance to continue speaking, Carl's strong right leg lifted up to lift the air, and the white air surged and overflowed. With a loud bang, Carl's right leg carrying violent power swept out like a battle axe. Alves couldn't dodge at all. Seeing Carl's sweeping right leg, Alves' pupils suddenly constricted. Boom! The moment Alves' body was swept by Carl's right leg, his solid body exploded on the spot, turning into a cloud of red blood mist. Alves, the manager of the underground boxing ring, was killed on the spot. Looking at the mobile phone that was about to fall to the ground, Carl stretched out his right hand and held it firmly in his hand. Superman, what did you do to Alves? Jin Bin heard Alves' exclamation just now. Jin didn't know very well that Alves should have been killed by Superman. Carl pressed the phone to his ear, and said calmly, he's fine, he just went to hell before you. Jin Bing heard the words, and his expression suddenly changed. You should thank Ghost for revealing the information so that I can find it myself, so that you won't feel pain when you die. Jin Bing frowned, and after thinking about it in his mind, he suddenly understood. So the mutant that Alves' subordinates provoked is Your Excellency. Good, Carl said in a cold tone. Mr. Jin Bing, as the leader who rules the NY Underground, you must be clear that there are some people in this world that you can't afford to mess with. I think there should be information about such people in your intelligence network. Jin was silent again. Indeed, as Carl said, there are some existences in this world that even Jinbin can't afford to provoke. Because those existences are simply not something ordinary people can deal with. For example, a resident somewhere on Brick Street in Manhattan, New York. Another example is the founder of Xavier Academy for Gifted Teenagers. In fact, there are still many people who cannot be provoked. Jin Bing also knew how far the gap between himself and those monster-like existences was. After a short silence, Jin Bin said slowly, Your Excellency Superman, I can exchange my most valuable treasure in my hands for my name, which will be used as compensation for offending Your Excellency this time. Hearing that there seemed to be some compromise in Jin Bing's words, Carl was slightly taken aback. Why doesn't this feel like a gangster's style? Chapter 44. Carl thought about it again. Jin Bing, as the leader of the underground gangsters, would never be a pure reckless man. Obviously, Jin Bin was able to say such words, no doubt because of the intelligence network he had established. Jin Bin knew a lot about the world. I want to see for myself what compensation you speak of. Okay, I'm waiting for your presence on the top floor of the tallest building in Hell's Kitchen. Carl was not responding to Jin Bin, but the ear-piercing explosion on the other end of the phone caught Jin Bin's attention. Slowly stood up from the chair in front of the desk. As the tallest building in Hell's Kitchen, it was enough to overlook several blocks. The moment Jin Bin looked at the location of the underground boxing ring managed by Alves, an earth-shattering explosion woke countless people up. The soaring fire that surged from the underground boxing arena was enough to bury everything. Even though they were several streets away, Jin Bin could see clearly that his underground boxing ring was gone. Realizing that the other party was not kind, Jin He tapped his desk with his fingers and fell into deep thought. Hell's Kitchen is located on the island of Manhattan and consists of several streets. It is full of squalor, crime and all kinds of bloody and violent conflicts. As a place where a large number of gangsters gather, it is also the site of Jinbin. In the American comics world, Kim doesn't have a super ability, but his combat power is at the top level among ordinary people. More than 90% of Jinbing's body is made up of muscles, and a heavy punch that gathers all the strength of his body can easily penetrate a wall. In addition, Jinbin is also a world-class fighting master. This level of combat power is undoubtedly an overwhelming force among ordinary people. Unfortunately, this is the world of American comics, a world with supernatural powers. Even if Jin can use the money in his hands to recruit a group of mutants, if he does not have strong strength originally, the road will only become more and more difficult after all. While Jin Bin was thinking, Carl had already flown to the sky above the tallest building in Hell's Kitchen. Jin Bin, who was standing at the desk with his hands behind his back and his head bowed in thought, was captured by Carl. Jin is not bald, but looks very strong, looks like a fat body, but Carl can clearly see the strong muscles under the clothes. Although he was wearing a relatively elegant white suit, his gestures exuded an invisible aura. On the surface, Jin did not intend to apologize to himself. But Carl always feels that there is no such a good thing, and Kim is a typical villain with high IQ in the Marvel world. This kind of person in a high position has no plans, Carl doesn't believe it. Definitely, Kim is not ruled out and does have the possibility of a compromise. Carl's figure slowly fell from the sky. Looking at the hard glass window in front of him, Carl stretched out his hand and tapped it lightly, and the glass window, which was strong enough to resist bullets, shattered instantly. The ear-piercing explosion sounded behind him, and Jin Bin immediately woke up from his complicated thoughts. Seeing Carl stepping on the broken glass all over the floor, Jin Bin fixed his eyes. This is the first time he has seen Superman in the real world. Compared with the pictures given by the news reports on the screen, the Superman in front of him is undoubtedly more oppressive. Unexpectedly, it's really Lord Superman. Jin Bin's intelligence network is very strong in NY. Jin Bin can know anything that happens in NY. Since Carl first appeared in front of the world, Kim has known his existence. During this time, Jin Bin also obtained some data of the mysterious mutant. Although it is only a few details analyzed from the video, it is enough to prove how terrifying Carl's power is. Taking a careful look at Carl, Jin immediately raised his hand and motioned, "Please sit down." Carl nodded lightly, and sat calmly on the chair in front of him under Jin Bin's gaze. Seeing this, Jin didn't hesitate, and sat down on the chair opposite Carl. Folding his hands together, Jin Bin said in a very calm tone, "My subordinates don't have good eyesight, they should be damned. But it was my fault after all, so I offended His Excellency Superman. In exchange for my life, I am willing to use a very valuable item to apologize. It depends on what it is." Carl looked at Jin Bin indifferently, and spoke calmly. Jin Bin nodded, turned and opened his desk. Under Carl's gaze, Jin Bin actually took out a black object with the size of his index finger from the cabinet. Holding the black object in his hand, Jin pondered for a moment, then pushed it decisively in front of Carl. "This is a key I found a few years ago that unlocks a small one-man spaceship." Jin Bin's words made Carl frown slightly. Carl thought that Jin would come up with some rare treasure, but it turned out to be a spaceship key. But when Carl carefully looked at Jin and pushed the key to the one-man spaceship in front of him, Carl couldn't help being surprised. It's actually the key to the Kryptonian spaceship. The reason why Carl was able to determine the origin of this key at a glance is because the top of this key has the symbol of S impressively printed on it. Carl, as Superman, is definitely no stranger to this notation. The symbol that looks like the English letter S actually represents the crest of the Al family, where Clark Kent belongs, and its meaning is hope. The appearance of the key to the Kryptonian spacecraft surprised Carl. Because he had chatted with the system about Superman before. Carl remembered clearly that the system said that Clark Kent did not come to this planet because of the early destruction of Krypton. So where did the key to the Kryptonian spacecraft come from? Could it be that there is an unknown Kryptonian hiding on this planet? Finding that Carl's expression has not changed in any way, Jin Bin's heart condenses slightly. He had already realized that the other party seemed not interested in this spaceship key. Even so, Jin said calmly, in addition to giving Superman the key to your spaceship, I will also inform you of the location of the one-man spaceship. In the past few years, I have organized a group of people to secretly study the one-man spaceship, but there has been no gain. But if Sir Carl went to study it, maybe there will be different gains. Mr. Superman, I wonder if my apology will satisfy you. Chapter 45. Carl didn't respond to Jin Bin immediately, but stood up and reached out to touch the Kryptonian spacecraft key. Under Jin Bing's astonished gaze, the key to the Kryptonian spacecraft on the desk disappeared out of thin air. Jin Bin, who saw this scene in his eyes, looked at Carl with more subtle eyes. Could it be that the ability that suddenly made objects disappear just now was some kind of magic? Kim had never heard of a mutant capable of magic. Could it be that the Superman in front of him is not a mutant? Putting away the key to the Kryptonian spacecraft, Carl sneered, you haven't gained anything after several years of research, which means that the one-person spaceship you mentioned is not of much value. Presumably this is also the reason why you gave up the money. A murderous look flashed in Carl's eyes. What happened tonight has made Carl understand that in this kind of world, one must eradicate his enemies. Even though Kim wasn't a threat to him, there were other people around Carl. On the premise of hindering oneself from enjoying life and affecting one's mood, it is natural to clean it up. Just when Carl was about to strike and explode the gold, a system prompt sounded suddenly, making him pause. Open black lens bracket ding. Mission triggered. Please choose one of the following options to complete. Please note that the rewards will be different if you choose to complete this task in different ways. Close black lens bracket. Option 1. Use the quest item, Slavery Contract, to enslave gold. Completion reward. Criminal Syndicate character draw card X1. Guilty points. 500. The integration progress of the Steel Body Superman template increases by 0.2%, and the integration progress of the Silver Superman template increases by 0.2%. Close black lens bracket. Option 2. Kill Jin Bing and eradicate all the forces under his command. Completion reward. Justice League character draw card X1. Hero points. 500. The integration progress of the Steel Body Superman template increases by 0.2%, and the integration progress of the Silver Superman template increases by 0.2%. Close black lens bracket. Task. Carl naturally saw the system task that popped up in front of him. The mission triggered this time is completely different from the previous ones. After all, this mission gave Carl more choices. The first option seems to be to make Jin a puppet, and then take the forces under his command for his own use. At the same time, a Crime Syndicate character drawing card is included. The Crime Syndicate Carl is no stranger, they are equivalent to the evil version of the Justice League in the DC main world on Earth 3. The members of the Crime Syndicate are all peers of the members of the Justice League of the main world, but their personalities are all opposite to those of the Justice League. For example, the Superman of the Criminal Syndicate corresponds to the Superman of the main world, and the hero corresponds to the Batman of the main world. Therefore, choosing to accept the enslavement money, accepting the forces under his command, and giving him a powerful subordinate is completely a matter of killing two birds with one stone for Carl. The second task is a Justice League character draw card, and the way the task is executed is too troublesome for Carl. After comprehensive consideration, Carl said silently in his heart, System, I choose one. Open black lens bracket ding. Choose success. The servitude contract has been issued. Close black lens bracket. Carl originally didn't want to cultivate a force organization of his own, but now that this system task appeared, he had a new plan. It's normal for Superman to have his own forces. Carl remembers very clearly that the Injustice Superman in the DC Comics used thunder to form a power organization that swept the world. There is also Superman's parallel space-time counterpart, Superman, which also has its own personal organization. Slavery contract. Carl clicked on the system storage space with his thoughts. A scarlet sheepskin scroll was lying there quietly. Carl glanced briefly at the detailed introduction of this sheepskin scroll, and the words of mission props were clearly written on it. This sheepskin scroll is naturally the bondage contract mentioned in the system task. After making Jin and signing the slavery contract, the biggest underworld leader in America will unconditionally offer his absolute loyalty to Carl. And the way to sign the slavery contract is also very simple and rude. It doesn't even require the other party's consent. Before Jin Bin could react, Carl involuntarily stuck the sheepskin scroll on Jin Bin's forehead. Immediately, the radial red light illuminated the building where Jin Bin was located. A few seconds later, Carl heard a reminder that the task was completed. The dazzling red light gradually dissipated on the top floor of the building where Jin Bin was. Carl watched Jin Bin calmly, only to see that Jin Bin, who was stunned in place, also returned to normal from a trance. When looking at Carl again, Jin Bin's eyes became obviously respectful. The underworld boss who stomped his feet enough to shake the whole New York City underground knelt down in front of Carl with such loyalty. Meet the master. Listening to Jin Bing's absolutely obedient voice, Carl frowned. How effective is this bondage contract? Get up. Carl leaned on the chair, looked at Jin Bin who was standing beside him respectfully, and said lightly, remember my contact information, and I will send you the information about the one-person spaceship you secretly researched later. Send it all to me. Yes. After Jin Bin nodded in response, he asked hesitantly, Master, do you want to manage these properties under your command personally? No, these industries are still operated by you, and I will send people to help you grow your power later. Jin Bin was startled, and then a very rare joy appeared on his face. Yes, Master. From now on, except for my initiative to come to you, you don't need to contact me under any special circumstances. You can slowly expand your power according to your own ideas, and everything will be as usual. Carl has no interest in being in charge of gold and developing originally power. Carl's pursuit in this life is to enjoy life, and it would be best if the power organization is handed over to his subordinates. Clear. Carl was in no rush to go home after leaving Jinbin's Hell's Kitchen. The appearance of the key to the Kryptonian spacecraft temporarily dispelled Carl's idea of going to the sun tonight. At this moment, Carl is floating in the sky above the city, looking at the data of the Kryptonian spacecraft that Jin sent to himself. Carefully observing the appearance of this Kryptonian spaceship, Carl couldn't help but secretly nodded. Because the shape of this Kryptonian spaceship is exactly the same as the small spaceship that Clark rides in the Superman Man of Steel movie. Huge amounts of light characters are clearly visible on the body surface of the Kryptonian spacecraft. It seems that the Krypton of this world should have been the one in the integrated Man of Steel universe. Carl flipped through the documents one by one, and he found that the Kryptonian spacecraft did not have redundant functions. Perhaps the only thing of value is probably the super-powered engine on the Kryptonian spacecraft. It's not an exploration warship launched by Krypton, but a small single-person spaceship. In this way, there should indeed be Kryptonians who came to this planet. I just don't know, who is this Kryptonian? Could it be the female Superman Kayla Zoal? Carl folded his arms, lost in thought. Please like and subscribe.